the old wagoner. How Daniel Morgan won the battle that changed the Revolution. January 17th, 1781, South Carolina backcountry. A grizzled American frontiersman faces the most brutal cavalry commander in the British Army, bloody Banastre Tarleton. The Americans, outnumbered, outgunned, half of them untrained farmers who've never faced British steel. But this American has a plan so psychologically brilliant that it will become one of the most studied military masterpieces in history. This is Daniel Morgan, and how he pulled off the perfect trap that helped win American independence. But first, you need to know how a rough teamster became a military genius. Picture this: young Daniel Morgan driving supply wagons through hostile wilderness, tough as nails, independent as they come. Then came his first encounter with British superiority. A British officer struck him with a sword. Morgan's response? One punch. Officer down. The punishment? 500 lashes that scarred his back forever. But here's what the British didn't understand. They'd just created their worst nightmare. When revolution erupted, Morgan assembled Virginia's deadliest riflemen. These weren't parade ground soldiers. They were frontiersmen who could put a bullet through a playing card at 300 yards. 21 days. That's how long it took them to march from Virginia to Boston. And when they arrived, British officers started dropping like flies. While other commanders played by European rules, Morgan wrote his own playbook. At Saratoga, his riflemen picked off British officers with surgical precision. Chaos in their ranks, victory for America. But here's the thing about Morgan. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a thinker. After helping secure that crucial victory, Morgan walked away, resigned, returned to his Virginia farm in 1779, seemingly done with war forever. But then disaster struck the South. Crisis and return. August 1780. British forces destroyed the Continental Army at Camden. The revolution was collapsing in the South. Enter Banastre Tarleton, bloody Tarleton. His British Legion had one motto: no mercy. At Waxhaws, they'd slaughtered American prisoners trying to surrender, and surrendering to Tarleton meant death. Morgan couldn't stand it anymore. At age 44, the old wagoner came out of retirement for one last fight, and this time he had a score to settle. The impossible mission. January 1781. General Cornwallis unleashes Tarleton with one mission: find Morgan and destroy him. The odds? Tarleton, 1,100 elite troops. Morgan, 1,000 men, half of them militia, who'd run at the first British charge. Any sane commander would retreat, avoid battle, live to fight another day. But Morgan chose to fight, and not just anywhere. He picked a place called Cowpens, open ground with no cover, no protection. It looked like suicide, but Morgan knew something Tarleton didn't: the psychology of victory. Here's Morgan's genius. He knew his enemy's mind. Tarleton was arrogant, impatient, always attacked head-on without thinking. So Morgan gave him exactly what he expected to see: American militia in the open, looking vulnerable. But the real masterpiece was how Morgan talked to his men. Just hold up your heads, boys. 3 fires and you're free. He walked among them in the pre-dawn darkness, calling each man by name. This wasn't some distant European general. This was leadership that spoke to the American soul. The plan? Simple, but brilliant. Militia fires twice, then retreats. Regulars hold the second line. Cavalry waits hidden for the perfect moment. At dawn, Tarleton saw the militia and thought, easy victory. He had no idea he was walking into the perfect trap. The perfect battle. Dawn breaks. Tarleton charges. The militia fires. Bang, bang, then runs, exactly as planned. Tarleton grins. Another American collapse. He orders his cavalry forward to finish them off. But then, the retreating militia suddenly wheels around and starts firing into the British flanks. The second line of Continentals unleashes devastating volleys. And from nowhere, William Washington's cavalry smashes into the British rear. Complete chaos. In less than an hour, Tarleton's invincible force was destroyed. British casualties, 600 dead, wounded or captured. American losses, fewer than 25. Tarleton himself barely escaped, his sword broken, his reputation shattered. Cowpens wasn't just a battle. Cornwallis had lost his best troops. The entire southern strategy was crumbling. And it all started a chain reaction that led straight to Yorktown. Morgan had proved something the world thought impossible. Citizen soldiers, properly led, could defeat the finest professional army on earth. Daniel Morgan, the rough wagoner who took 500 British lashes, had delivered their most devastating defeat. He embodied everything the revolution stood for, that in America, brilliance could come from anywhere. Leadership meant knowing your people, not just following rules. The old wagoner had helped win American independence and proved that the British Empire wasn't invincible after all.